My name is Robin from Minimalism Over 50, and today I'm going to share something that's really off topic for this channel, but I'm sharing about a key piece of who I am. It feels sort of, I don't know, almost disingenuous to continue this without talking about what I'm going to be talking about today, and that is my sobriety journey. So it was, let me back up and say, I had been lying for years. Every time I went to the doctor and had my annual physical, on the question where it asked about if you ever wondered if you were drinking too much, I always checked no, because I wasn't ready to stop drinking. I didn't want to stop drinking. And so I would blow right through that, checked all the boxes, did well with the whole mental health screening with my checkups. But the truth is that I was always wondering if I was drinking too much. So my husband and I had, he knew my concerns, but I was never, I never flagged on it for anyone. I didn't flag with my children. I didn't flag with my husband. So my sobriety story is not one that starts with being arrested or with a confrontation in the living room or with me waking up in the front yard after being on a bender. I wasn't that kind of an alcoholic. I'm not that kind of an alcoholic. And so I just kind of let it go. I would try for a while, knowing that I was drinking more than I was comfortable with. We were like, well, we'll just drink when we're out and about. And my drink of choice was margaritas. And I'm like, well, a really good margarita is expensive, and I liked really good margaritas. And so when they got expensive, I was like, oh, just buy the tequila and the Grand Marnier. It's cheaper to have them at home. And so it would just go on. I think what my husband didn't know how much I was drinking, and no one knew how much I was thinking about alcohol as a coping mechanism for me, which it totally was. It was in the middle of the middle years, and you remember, if you've raised kids and been married, in the middle of raising kids and the financial pressures that come with those middle years of you've been married 10 or 15 years, you've got school-aged children. I mean, it can be stressful. And alcohol was, I am embarrassed to admit it now, but it was one of my coping mechanisms that nobody knew that I was using because I wasn't drinking enough for it to flag with people. And so I still remember knowing that I was having a problem. I was drinking earlier each day, sort of the 5 o'clock somewhere joke. Drinking earlier each day, drinking in a coffee cup. Again, I'm horrified with this, so that my kids wouldn't know. Pushing it back against the wall by the furthest part of the kitchen so that nobody would see. I also remember just realizing how quickly the recycling bin was filling up. And I finally Googled, am I an alcoholic? And so I was just digging, like, I'm not the bender kind of alcoholic. Could I really be having a problem here? Until I found, through my Googling research of am I an alcoholic, something called a high bottom alcoholic. So a high bottom alcoholic is kind of what it sounds like. The name is a little funny, but it is somebody whose bottom is very, so a bottom in so sobriety speak is your low point, where you realize you have a real problem. And for a lot of alcoholics, that can be losing your family, it can be getting arrested, it can be a DUI, it can be an intervention, it can be a ton of different things. And for me, my bottom was really high. It was realizing this thing has a hold of me, and I'm drinking way too much. And my absolute bottom was going to the liquor store to get to get tequila and Grand Marnier for margaritas. And I can still feel myself coming up the driveway with the gravel crunching underneath my feet and the heft of the bottles of tequila and Grand Marnier in my purse so that I could sneak it past my husband. And I knew at that point. So I came in, said hello to him, feeling that alcohol on my shoulder, sneaking past him, not sneaking, but giving him a kiss and moving along like nothing was going on. And I knew that the alcohol was turning me into a person that I didn't want to be. I was being sneaky with the man that I loved and trusted most. And I knew. And so I can't remember if I had a drink that night or not. I think I did because we still had the full bottles. But I told my husband later in the day, I'm like, I think I have a real problem. I'm like, I went and bought tequila and Grand Marnier today for margaritas. And I snuck the alcohol past you because I was embarrassed about how quickly it's disappearing. And I'm like, I think maybe I have a real problem and I'm a person who just can't drink. I mean, we've tried to do that thing where we only drink out and about and then it slowly devolves into me drinking again at home. I'm like, I think I need to not drink at all. I think maybe I'm one of those people who can't ever drink again. And I'm like, I know it's expensive, but I'd like to pour out all the alcohol and I want to start figuring out how to get some support. And he's like, okay. He goes, I didn't realize this is where we were. We'll pour out everything. We'll have a dry household and you need to do what you need to do to take care of yourself. And so that's what I did. I poured out all of the alcohol and started doing some research on how to get support. I went to both AA and I'd started going to AA meetings, and I also found a group called Celebrate Recovery, which is a faith-based recovery program that works for all different kinds. It's for all kinds of addiction: drugs, alcohol, porn, shopping, gambling. It's a 12-step program, and I wanted to go through a 12-step program. So so that was July 26, 2017. So it is February of 2025. I am coming up on 8 years of sobriety, and I feel in a much more stable place to be able to talk about it. I stayed in intensive recovery for the first couple of years, went into therapy, worked the 12 steps twice, which if you've never done that, it's seriously difficult. Early sobriety is incredibly difficult. So all of the stuff that I numbed with alcohol, all of the vulnerability that came with family stress and raising children and all the worries, news, you name it, I didn't have the tool of having a drink to take the edge off anymore. I slowly started telling family and friends. People were shocked, surprised, because again, I wasn't flying on anybody's radar. And so I started talking about, people laugh when I talk about high bottom alcoholic. But when you start talking about it, people kind of get what it is. And so I started outing myself to the people that I cared about most because I wanted the accountability. I needed the accountability of me not being able to pull it over on anybody and saying, I think I can handle it. I think we're good. So I wanted the people closest to me to know. So So yeah, I started holding myself accountable. If I was ever going to be in a situation where I knew people might be having a drink, I would talk to my sponsor about my plan going in, about how am I going to, what's my plan. So my plan is always something bubbly and maybe a little sweet. So I did a lot of Shirley Temples. I still do a lot of Shirley Temples. I always had fun drinks available at home. So caffeine-free Diet Coke, all kinds of sparkling waters, ginger ale, whatever I needed to do to get through those early days of sobriety, and having the fun drinks was one of my ways that I coped. So yeah, so that has been almost 8 years? Yeah, almost 8 years if I've got the math right. And so, yeah, I think I just wanted to share this with you, that this little channel is still pretty small, and this is a core piece of who I am. And even though it's not, this talk today is not really around minimalism or sobriety. I mean, minimalism or frugality. Well, it's not at all around minimalism or frugality. It's a key part of who I am, and so I felt compelled to share that with you. And I'm far enough along in my journey that if people say awful things, I'm really okay with dealing with it. My sobriety is probably one of the most important things to me. My faith in God, my family, but my sobriety supports all of those things. And so, yeah, I just wanted to share that with you. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.